Got some juicy updates for you from the last 12 hours, so let's dive right in. First up, Kyiv Zelensky made some pretty big statements last night. He mentioned that the documents on security guarantees are totally ready to go now. We're just waiting on the US to give us the green light on when and where things will happen. Exciting stuff, right? Zelensky made it clear that Ukraine won't ever give up its land to Russia. After talks in Abu Dhabi, he shared that they're ready to sign a draft security agreement with Washington. They're just waiting for their partners to set a date and place for the signing. Once that's done, it'll need to be approved by both the US, Congress and Ukraine's Verkhovna Rada. Another key security guarantee is membership in the European Union and the support that comes with it. Zelensky didn't mention anything about the readiness of these agreements, but he made it clear Ukraine will never give up its land to Russia. A compromise is essential. Reports from the talks in Abu Dhabi say the US won't guarantee military support for European troops entering Ukraine after the war. Meanwhile, the Russians keep launching drone attacks on Ukraine. It's a tough situation, and the fighting continues. Last night, 138 drones were spotted in the sky over Ukraine. Ukrainians say their air defense took down 110 of them. Meanwhile, the Russians keep bombing energy infrastructure. Here's something interesting. In Kyiv, people are setting up tent camps in the yards of apartment buildings to keep warm since they can't heat their homes. It's a tough situation, but the resilience of the people is truly inspiring. That this week has become one of the most difficult for the Ukrainian energy sector since 2020, the blackout after the combined attacks on January 20th and 23rd. Against the backdrop of several frost and damage from previously shelling, the power system experienced an extraordinary load. At the same time, up to 85% of consumers remained without electricity after the first attack. By the end of the week, 60% had already been powered. According to the Prime Minister, mobile operators will provide backup power to base stations so that Ukrainians stay connected even during long outages. So the situation remains tense. At the same time, the Russians also made lots of very important statements. The Russians stated that Russia rejects any initiatives that goes beyond its full control over Donbas, write the New York Times. According to the publication, at the negotiations in the United Arab Emirates, American and Ukrainian delegations discussed the possible deployment of neutral forces as peacekeepers in part of Donetsk region or the formation of a demilitarized zone. However, Russia allegedly rejects everything that contradicts the agreement reached between Trump and Putin at the summit in Alaska last summer, which includes the complete withdrawal of the armored force of Ukraine from the territory of Donbas and the non-deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine. So all these signals are telling us just about one thing: that the conflict in Ukraine will continue. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the northeastern part of Kharkiv region. During the previous days, the Russians managed to improve their positions in the most northeastern part of the Kharkiv region. Here we can see a video published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russian soldiers that were moving through the territory of the village by the name of Dnister. So several attacks took place right exactly at this point, and based on this video, we came to conclusion that the armed forces of the Russian Federation began assault operation on the village of Narna. Currently, there are very heavy clashes, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians don't have lots of forces in this area, and they try to repel a Russian attacks just with drones. Another important video is coming from the Kupiansk direction. In this video, we can see how the Russians, as a result of objective control, managed to discover a storage facility of the armed force Ukraine at Guskina railway station. And as a result of several attacks, the Russians destroyed this warehouse and this ammo depot. The Ukrainians were using this ammo depot, this warehouse, with the purpose to storage drones that later the Ukrainians were planning to use for several operations on the tree through the city of Kinsk itself. As for the city of Queens, the situation remained tense, and during the previous night, pro-Ukrainian sources published this video. And here we can see this video shows a detailed drone fly over the city of the city center. The footage mainly features areas with dense high-rise buildings and urban infrastructure from above. This is the city of Kupiansk, Kharkiv region. I would like to remind you that there are still very heavy clashes, and as we can see, neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians have enough of power to finish the battle for the city itself. There are still clashes, but we see that neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians are able to move further. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Slivin direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded. We have adjusted the southeastern part of the settlement of Lyman based on the video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. And here we can see how Ukrainians managed to discover positions of the armed force of the Russian Federation in this area. And then Ukrainians began bombing and attacking Russians right exactly at this point. Based on this video, we came to conclusion that the Russians once again entered the city of Lyman and the Russians are trying to advance further in the direction of the central part of the city. So currently the clashes are taking place for the southern citadel of the city Man and the southeastern part of the settlement. The Russians continue advancing at the same time the Russians are trying to cut the content of the Amkrane on the Tra of the Shilan from the logistics. In this video, we can see how the Russians were flying over another ponton bridge that was established by the Ukrainians in this area. And when the Russians discovered that Ukrainians managed to repair or to restore this, let's say, pontoon bridge, the Russians attacked this territory with the viation or with missile. And here we can see the consequence of attack. As you can see, the bridge was completely destroyed. And now, once again, the Ukrainians need some time to restore the city, to repair the bridge, and to restore the logistic with the SH of Lean. At the same time, the Russians continue offensive operation on the triangle of Luka Kaleniki. There are very heavy clashes. The Ukrainians are sending more and more forces to stabilize the front line. The Russians from their side are attacking the theater with drones. The Russians have deployed a lot of FPV drone crews with the purpose to establish complete control. As you can see, this is the strongest defense belt of the armored force of Ukraine to the east of the city of Slavinsk. And as you can see, the pace of the Russian offensive operation this area was significantly lowered. Furthermore, we have small changes to the west of Zwanovka, to the west of the village of Bamutka. We have a video confirming Russian control over this huge forest. And we have a report according to pro-Russian sources during the previous 12 hours the Russians managed to improve their position significantly along the MO3 road. So the Russians, as we can see, continue offensive operation, and we are waiting that in coming days the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm complete control over the villages of Minkovka Golubka. So it seems that in coming days the Russians will establish complete control over the territory between the Severbas Canal and the settlement of Nikarovka. So we are talking about this pocket. As for the city of Konstantinovka, during the previous 12 hours, nothing special was recorded. The most important thing is that Russians continue attacking the logistic and the main supply lines that go in the direction of Konstantinovka. The Ukrainians, due to the fact that they don't have any other option how to support their country of the territory of Konstantin, continue sending more and more troops, forces, vehicles using these roads, and the Russians are trying to destroy everything that is moving in the direction of the city. So here we can see another vehicle that was moving towards the city that was attacked by FPV drone. Here we can see almost the same story. Another vehicle of the armed forces of Ukraine were moving in the direction of the city of Konstantinovka, but was attacked by the Russian drone. And here we can see FPV drone strikes on the tree of the city of Konstantin itself. But as of this video, we can see not just vehicles, but also Ukrainian infantry that was trying to hide after this behind this building, but they were also attacked. So as for the line of combat contact, the Russians during the previous 12 hours haven't managed to improve their positions. There are still heavy clashes along the, let's say, line of combat contact along the city border of the city limits of the city. Meanwhile, the Russians are trying to improve their positions in the direction of the settlement of Duskovka. This morning, several pro-Russian sources stated that as a result of clashes, the Russians improved their positions, and the Russians are about to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Tetska. So, there are lots of strongholds, as you can see, that the Russians are trying to capture, and these strongholds could serve as a very powerful base before moving forward in the northeastern direction. So, there are very heavy clashes, and as we can see, the Russians improve their positions, and they continue offensive operation further. As for the Drayoli direction, nothing during the night. As for the Neprov direction, nothing during the night. As for the Zaparo direction, nothing during the previous night. Another important topic is that the United States of America continue massive buildup in Iran during the previous 24 hours. During the previous night, there are tons of reports coming in that the U.S. is ramping up its military presence in the region. Just take a look at the map. It shows a serious buildup around Iran, with fighter jets, tankers, and carrier air wings all over Europe and the Middle East. But the big news, the U.S. aircraft carrier group, led by the Abraham Lincoln, has just arrived in the Middle East, according to Israeli Channel 13. So, things are definitely heating up. We need to realize that if conflict arises, it'll probably look different from what we saw in the summer of 2025 right now. We still haven't heard anything about whether the U.S. is planning or has already sent out beta bombers, so it's likely we're going to see totally different operations. Just think about that for a second. The winter operation of 2026 is shaping up to be pretty different from the summer operation of 2025. The US is ramping things up big time, sending more aircraft, ships, and troops into the region. Something's definitely brewing. Recent satellite images from Salman Port in Bahrain show US destroyers getting deployed. It's a lot to keep an eye on, right? 2 U.S. Navy Burke-class destroyers are docked at the port, along with 3 Independence-class littoral combat ships and some support vessels. There's a massive buildup happening right now. The big question is, when will this buildup wrap up? Are the U.S. forces gearing up for another special operation in this region? With the ongoing situation in Venezuela and the earlier conflict with Iran, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. What do you think is going to happen next? Something big is brewing for 2025, and that's a wrap for this quick video. Just a reminder from the Military Summary channel, there's a lot of violence in the world. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and check out my Patreon. Have an awesome day. Bye.